We're looking to evolve together. We're looking to extend our love together from our hearts into all relationships, inside and outside. We're looking to evolve and directly participate in the evolution of consciousness, in the calling of humanity to a finer place of heart connection and heart communication together. So I'm literally going to welcome all of your questions as much as we can take on each session. And we have a small audience here as well that will also be participating. So first off, what I'd like to do with you just for a moment, I'd like you just to take a breath and close your eyes for a moment. Just bring your awareness and your attention to your heart. And really feel the connection and communication, the communion of the heart. Really know it is here, this communion. And as we feel into it, or as we know it is true, then we begin literally to include all the beings that are actually on this evening call with us. So feel that connection from your own heart to everyone that's taking place in this conversation this evening. Feel your awareness, your consciousness embracing the whole of this group and indeed the whole of humanity. And take a breath and open our eyes. Here we are in you're actually looking at me sitting in the cafe restaurant, She Chocolat. We're sitting here. There's a few of us sitting in the dining room. We'll be using this as our studio. So, welcome to this space. We've been having a little fun, and in the panic of setting up our first live broadcast. So we've had a few hitches, and all we need now is a few hikers, and we hope that you're going to be, this is fun, isn't it? Because it's like a hitchhike guide to the galaxy, to consciousness, and it's really like that. So I'm going to just introduce why I've called this heart to heart, face to place. Why I've actually called that, just to make that deeper connection with you all. Clearly then we've just made the connection of heart to heart, and I'm speaking of one's own heart to God's heart, to the infinite heart, the infinite well of our true beingness, to God's own heart. So our heart to God's heart, our heart to the deepest heart. That's the heart to heart. Then the heart to heart to heart. So our innermost heart, our human heart to another's heart and to another's innermost heart. So that's the heart to heart. And once we begin to have literally that kind of communion and connection, then comes the face. Because once we really make that connection in our own heart, we are then the face of pure consciousness. So it's not this face that you see, although it is included, this face that you see, this physical face that you see, but shining and actually creating this face as a structure, this face of Bernie Pryor, this face of whoever it is listening to these words right now. This face, the real face, is the face of consciousness. So now we have heart to heart and face, the face of consciousness. So that's a transformation already. in that we're knowing ourselves as the true face, the eternal face of consciousness. No matter how many shapes and textures of faces that consciousness wears, we are always the original face of pure consciousness, from our heart-to-heart connection with the deepest place within inside the real self. So that's heart-to-heart, face, heart-to-heart and face to place. Well, here it is. Here's the place to bring your heart to face in this place of life, this place of communication, this place of experience. So we're literally bringing our full heart to heart, face to face, the face of my consciousness, the face of your consciousness, the face of our consciousness, being one face of consciousness in one place. And that place is this universe, and that place is this earth, and that place is this room, not this physical room, although it's included, but this room of conscious, aware participation in the living expression of life as one's own heart connection, face to face, and bringing it to this place, bringing it to the manifestation. And in some way what I'm pointing towards is that each and every one of us are the creators of our own experience, of our personal experience, and also the creators of our interrelated experience as human beings around the globe. And in truth, of course, I could go finer and deeper. There were actually also both the heart-to-heart and face-to-place and the interrelationship on a universal scale out into the cosmos. We're also that too. Yet to discover that greater mystery that actually already exists as the universe or the cosmos that we see in our sense perception, that actually represents our true face, our face of pure consciousness that's ever unfolding in form. I hope I haven't lost you in what I've just said, but that's why we're having this conversation, so that as I ground the very basis of what heart-to-heart, face-to-place is about, you'll begin to drink our union, drink our connection with everyone on this call. You'll be able to tangibly feel the vibration of our heart-to-heart, face-to-place communication. It'll be the living embodiment in the here and now of what we are in the first place of heart connection in this place of earth life, right where we are. Now, if what I said is true, that will mean a pretty astounding shift in how we relate. Each and every one of us on this call now, for instance, how we relate heart to heart, face to the very place that we become familiar with. The familiarity with our own self, the familiarity with our own home, the familiarity with our own workplace, the familiarity with our own culture, the familiarity even with our earth and our experiences, will all have a reorientation of pure face consciousness, heart-to-heart face consciousness. The place will change just because we're being, pure being, the face of pure being, the face of pure consciousness, right where we are. And we literally will see the miracle of being enabled to change the face and place of consciousness. Forms will change. The forms of ourself will change. The forms of our activity will change. They will no longer be so limited. We'll begin to expand our consciousness, expand our ideas of love, our ideas of creating. We'll be able to expand our consciousness and our communication from our deeper interior to each other. There will be an expansion of both the face of consciousness, a deeper connection of the heart-to-heart of pure conscious awareness, and the place will begin to take the shape of that inner connection between us all. And this is what I really want to look at with you, and this is what I invite you to look at with me this evening. And I wrote a couple of notes just a couple of hours ago, which I spontaneously just had this recollection of being in the UK very recently. I mean, just a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks, maybe less. And being in the West End of London. And so taken with, when I say taken, I'll have to remind myself to explain what I mean by taken. But taken by all the Union Jacks flying everywhere. I mean, Oxford Street completely covered in the Union Jack, and Regent Street, and this street, and that street, every street, wherever I went, in London at least, covered in Union Jacks. And to see that, it stirred something in me, and basically this is what it stirred. I endeavoured to get this out for you, and then we'll start a conversation together. It stirred where our sovereignty lies. That's what it stirred. It stirred that our sovereignty seems to lie mainly outside, in the projection of sense perception. Our sovereignty still very much lies in what we see and experience with our body minds, in this sense magnification of consciousness embodied. It seems to lie with history, seems to lie with systems that came from past experiences within humanity. In short, it seems to lie, our sovereignty, with our personalized perception, cultural or otherwise, and not with the sovereignty, being sovereign to our own heart. Do you see where I'm pointing to? It was a shocking revelation to see that, because I do, to be honest, I do enjoy the pageantry, but I don't take it too seriously. You know, I see the colour and the splendour, and I can be in the enjoyment of that. But I'm in the enjoyment of that from my being. My life belongs to my being. I am sovereign to my being, to the deep communion that we've been speaking of in just these few minutes. I am sovereign to that innermost connection, innermost communion, innermost communication. That's my sovereignty. So I wanted to just kind of see where that was with you all, just to get that across. And when we begin to see this, if we do see this, when we begin to see that our sovereignty lies in the exterior and not in the deepest interior, and we begin to intuit a finer sense of real value in reorientating our sovereignty as something outside to something that's deeply interior, that does include, in fact, creates the exterior, then when that begins to happen, we begin to move into a deeper heart agreement. First with our own self, we begin to come upon this heart agreement that we say to our heart, for instance, heart, I am sovereign only to you. I am sovereign to be true only to you, heart. I listen to the deepest place within the heart because I know it leads to my God, or the deep, or the true, or whatever name that you want to call that place within yourself. So a different kind of heart agreement. So therefore different resonance of the face to the place, to the manifestation, begins to take place. We begin to have an entirely different connection with the manifest forms, being sovereign to that is unmanifest, yet to manifest, to the deep. Therefore then our flow begins to open up. where we slowly begin to be able, or in leaps and bounds, we're being enabled to flow from the deep and manifest the deep. In our sovereignty to the deep, we begin to manifest what is deeply real, what is deeply meaningful, and what is deeply fulfilling for all beings on the planet. So it's a change of sovereignty. So these are just a few things I wanted to put across this evening, and I kind of hope I've set something, some foundation for us to share with this evening. So I'm inviting you right now to call in and share or ask whatever question you've already come with, or any question that's been sparked from our conversation. So again, I'm going to welcome you, heart to heart, face to place. Welcome to this place. Welcome to this face. I welcome you. Let's see if we have anybody. We're just having a look. Do we have anybody come in? Okay. Richard.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, Richard.
It's Rena and Richard here.
The Rena Richard tour. Hi there.
We're thinking about you, and what a beautiful time that it was to be with you and with your community, and to be with Steve, and to be in the Christchurch area, and especially Governor's Bay.
Good. It was so great to have you both here. In fact, I don't think you've gone. Look, there you are.
Yeah, we're still together. So anyhow, whatever happened over there stuck.
Well, let's just say maybe it flowed.
Yeah.
Well, what did you want to bring into this evening?
I heard you say like the heart-to-heart consciousness, and I imagine that you're talking about the forum and also the love of the community, which is very much felt there. And you said that when you're deep into the heart-to-heart consciousness, if I understood you right, then your forms will change, your relationships will change.
That's right.
And I think like, okay, if your relationships would change, you would probably get closer to the heart-to-heart consciousness. And what I wanted to ask is kind of like a simple question, because if you talk about love and all that stuff, it's so misunderstood and so overused. So I just want to say, like, with kindness, tenderness, and then acknowledgement. It seems like we as a people of the world, we as a Western society, we're so stingy with kindness, and we're so stingy with tenderness, and we're so stingy with just acknowledging our fellow man. They're seeking acknowledgement, and we just don't want to give it. And why is that? I mean, what do we gain as a people being so stingy, like, and not really acknowledging our fellow man?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, we don't gain anything by being stingy. I think that's a great word, because that's a familiar word. Certainly where I come from in England, the word stingy was used quite a lot to be stingy. So I'm just having a little chuckle about that. Forgive me. I don't think it's that we're stingy, actually. I think it's that we're afraid. I don't think it's stinginess. I think we're afraid to be who we really are. I think we're frightened of our own light, our own power. And I think we're frightened to allow each other, as it were, to actually be that power. So we kind of continually construct something less than what we can be. So it's not, I don't believe it's that we're stingy. I just believe that we're frightened of who we truly are. And underneath all of our seeming stinginess, as you put it, we're bubbling away to be true. And this is really what I love in our connection together, because it only takes one person, it only takes you, whoever that is looking into the camera, it only takes you to be that more, to just be present, be open, be more real to this moment, than maybe you've ever been before. It's like, dare to be that real. And dare to be that real in the face of such familiarity. in the face of so much seeming limitation, because we do believe that we're limited, and we're always comparing ourselves to see how unlimited we are. Do you see what I mean? We don't compare ourselves to see how how amazing we are, just to see how limited that we are. So I see it a different way. I believe it's just the fear, and yes, you're right, that the more we can be kind to ourselves, actually, more kind to ourselves, that when things move in this self, if we can find more forgiveness, more openness, more compassion for ourselves, although, that might not come easily, but it's just to allow the smallest bit of compassion and the smallest bit of forgiveness in yourself, that the light of the real you begins to come through the crack, and suddenly your face is the face in that moment of real consciousness, and the place in which you stand begins to shine in the light of your original face. I like that idea. I don't think we're all stingy. I think we're mainly frightened, fearful. How's that? Do you see that? And I'm endeavouring to nurture a being, although may still feel fear, steps beyond and through the fear. So although you may feel patterns moving, although you may feel awkward in certain situations with others, or would you dare to heart to heart with another, heart to heart from yourself, face to face in this place? Would you dare to do that no matter how you feel, what your past experiences are, and just be, just for one moment, soft, tender and alive? That to me is what I'm offering right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, is soft and tender. And, and then if that's a fear, then how to step through that fear and just say, okay, be kind. That's should maybe a number one priority, to treat your fellow man kindly.
Yeah. But you see, the soft and tenderness I'm speaking of might not necessarily instantly manifest. Right? So ask somebody who's really angry to be soft and tender. Can you come to soft and tender place, please? Ask someone who's
soft and tender with them, right? I don't have to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we can point to a place that who we really are is pure self-knowledge. So who we really are is the real face of consciousness. And regardless of our familiar experiences in this life, there is a place in us that we can touch as a being, and we know the truth of our own being. So often we know the truth of our own being, but it doesn't get displayed through ourself, in the way that we move towards each other. So just to give each other a little room, that we can own up to knowing the truth of this moment, knowing who I am, who we are, and to ask someone to be soft and tender in that, to me that would mean no softness and tenderness, although it might not come through with what you say or in your physical manifestation. If you can just put your attention on your heart, which really is soft and tender, you can respond to that softness, although it might come out of your mouth not seeming too tender or soft. Do you see what I'm saying here? Right? It seems like you know that one, right? So in other words, we're learning to integrate, not as something that you have to do, but we're learning to allow integration through responding to direct knowledge, responding to our true face, regardless of the appearances that move through us in our human self. The appearances of jealousy or anger or, any of those, let's just call them negative experiences that we all seem to tuck under the carpet, we can know we're growing even amongst the patterns that still move that we don't seem to have mastered as yet. We can know growth even though the familiar is still moving through our bodies and our minds and in our mannerisms. We can still know there's growth. And in staying with that knowledge, then growth begins to accelerate, not because we're doing something to make changes, but because we're responding to our real self-knowledge. I don't know if you're all understanding what I've just said or not.
Let me try this, because I just had what I consider a new insight, right? Because I started to listen to myself when I was speaking to you, and I was speaking about tenderness and kindness, and then about overcoming the fear of acknowledgement. But somehow I could see where, in one way, that can never take hold, because we have a belief that clarity is the most important thing. And when we get a clear vision, we feel like, okay, we have to deliver that clear vision, and then we have these beliefs like tough love, like this is, if I can deliver this vision, and even if it hurts, I'm a surgeon, and I'm going in with this vision, I've seen something. And maybe the way to say it is that clarity is best served with kindness. It has to be in balance somehow.
Yeah. Richard, there's a few people cracking up in this room around here in what you're saying at the moment. They're mainly women. They're mainly women cracking up.
Get them on camera there. We want to see that crack up.
Well, we're going to use it in a moment, but it seems like that might be a male point of view. Do you see what I mean? And how you're just expressing that. I don't know. I'm just saying this. It's just because they're having a bit of fun.
I think there is that point of view that's all around, that clarity is so important, And if I just say kindness, it sounds like, well, I'm throwing clarity aside. But let's just say we have an insight and we want to deliver it.
I believe there's many people that know clarity doesn't come without love. In fact, clarity without love is pretty shallow and pretty cold. And that only love brings clarity to a place where the mind begins to shine what the heart really is. Do you see what I mean? It begins to shine what the heart really is. And that's that marriage, the marriage between the heart and the mind, is the mind being so open that the heart can shine through it. And therefore you've got a real loving mind. I mean, I like that, but that's me.
Right. No, I see that. And also that the heart can be it already is very forgiving and allow the mind to speak.
Well, depends where you are in the heart. Not the shallow heart isn't forgiving at all. It depends whether we're speaking about the real heart to heart or just what I want at the moment. My heart says this or my heart says that. What I'm speaking of this evening and what these conversations are about are the endeavour to connect with the true heart. I've been calling it God's heart or the divine heart, and the human heart. So the human heart begins to merge back into where it came out of, to me, which is the heart of God. And in so doing, when the human heart begins to merge back into the heart of God, then life, the face of life literally begins to change, because not only do we have God's heart shining through us, bringing us to true life, that the forms that we begin to experience flowing through us begin to be really alive, and we begin to have this excitement of our love, of our union, because God's heart is shining through everything that we do. Do you see what I mean? Suddenly there's different vibrancies and different textures and levels of communion that human beings have totally lost. Suddenly we're in a finer communion all the way in and all the way out. Now we're talking about a heart that will know no end, and that you and I then, in that place, are the infinite heart of reality coming into form. Your heart, my heart, everyone's heart is the infinite reality. That will blow the mind wide open. How about your lovely lady there? Would she like to share her experiences?
Just wonderful to see you, Bernie. Nice to be there with the community. I can feel them all. I can hear their laughter. I recognise their laughs in the background.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. And of course, we're also speaking about a wider community. I mean, we're looking at a community of beings that are awakening to their true self. We're looking at a community around the world of beings that are being drawn to be more than they've ever been before. I love that. I love the possibilities that exist when so many of us connect. You know, so many possibilities begin to exist and begin to live between all of us. I find that pretty exciting. It's beautiful to see you both.
Thank you for this broadcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, and stay tuned.
Oh, we will, we will.
Thanks, Bernie.
Much love to you both. Thank you for coming on.
Love, much love.
Love to all.
And we're going to move on to the next person.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Okay, bye.
Do we have anybody else on who'd like to ask a question?
Sophie Austin, she's calling without a camera.
Ah.
Okay, bye.
Hi, Sophie, are you there? Someone who'd like to ask
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, Bernie.
Yeah,
I'm here.
I think you need to turn your player off. We're getting an echo.
Hi. Hi.
Are you there? Yeah, you've turned it on to hold. Is she there?
No, she's gone.
Okay, let's go to Patricia then, or whoever is calling, and she can come up next.
Okay, so you're saying call in now?
Yeah. So we seem to have lost that particular caller. Oh, maybe it sounds like she's in again. Here she comes. Hello, Sophie. Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
That's much better. Thanks.
Great.
What would you like to share this evening?
Oh, Bernie, I'm just asking for some help. You know, yesterday I saw that, you know, not being given anything I want in life on the surface is, you know, a great blessing, because it makes, you know, the life of my heart, the God, come forward by not having anything, but it's very painful to live like this, and
when you say, Sophie, that you don't have anything on the surface, may I ask you what you mean by that, so I get a clearer picture of what you're speaking of?
Well, it's like, you know, you once said in a talk about how you were picked up and dropped and picked up and dropped, and like the ego, the mind that wants to relate externally, as you were saying before, looking outside to the sovereignty, there's nothing there, there's nothing to hold on to at all. So, and then, you know, I pray all the time inwardly, and then there seems to be nothing there, and then there's, you know, the understanding, but anyhow, that's all I can share, because that's just...
Can I show you something there? May I show you something there?
please.
What you have is what you can give now. What you have is literally what you can give now. Literally what you can give. What you can give this moment of life is everything that you really have. And if you look at that, this moment then is everything that you really have. And this moment actually contains the universe. It's everything that you really have. So you can give this great everything that you really have, which is just this moment. And there's everything that you really actually have, because life can't give you that, because you're already that. And life can't take it away either. It's who you really are. So this moment is who you really are. It's all you really have. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can give right now, in any moment, everything that you have to the people around you. You can give from your heart, you can give through your mind, you can give through your body, you can give in your relationships, you can give in the way you speak to others, you can give in how you see yourself in the bathroom mirror. You already have everything you can give. It really is here. It's really a change of orientation. And it is, like we've been saying, it's a change of sovereignty. So the change of sovereignty may be for you in this that you're speaking of. The change of sovereignty is seeing that you have all that you have. So give this moment of life. Give it. Really give it. And see what takes place when you really give from this moment of life. You have everything. Are you following what I'm pointing towards?
Yes, yes. But then I can see what the karmic aspect of what I'm hiding in the deep. I know that's just a psychic thing, but that prevents the giving, because it's, you know, it's the murderous aspect is still holding on, even though I've seen it lots of times.
Let me help you with that. Can I help you with that?
Yes.
Okay. Don't bother with karma. Right? It doesn't make you any karma. Don't bother with it. It's not true. This moment is free of karma. This moment is free of history. This moment is your only moment of freedom. There's no structure in this moment, so there can't be any karma. You couldn't get any karma in this moment, quite honestly. You know, this moment is a moment of stillness. How much karma could you get? Because this moment isn't in turbulence from what has ever taken place. It's not moved from what's taken place. This moment moves from what's not taken place. Isn't that amazing? That is so amazing. That's your new sovereignty. This moment is eternal. It moves from what's not taken place. There's your opportunity. You know, this was a silver jubilee, right? That's happening, right? I'm speaking of the golden jubilee. Forget the silver. Who wants silver? This is gold. Gold is nothing ever took place in this moment. You are here to create a new moment. You don't have to look anywhere. You don't even have to bother about karma. This moment is your new moment. This is your golden jubilee. You don't have to worry about anything whatsoever. Just be this moment fully. This moment has never been expressed. You give it expression from that you truly are. This moment's free. Begin to see that. It's very beautiful. You know, you'll be your own queen then. Yeah. You'll be the majesty of life. You'll know it. It's here. No karma can ever hold you back. Nothing can change who you are. You're already that. Isn't that wonderful news? You don't want to wait another 50 years for that one, right?
And I've just been writing down what you've said.
Well, I hope you wrote it down in your heart.
I do
If
too.
it's in mine, it means it's already in yours.
Sorry, are you there?
Yes, I said to you that if it's in my heart, it's already in yours. I just look in here, it's the same as in you. So it's no different. Yesterday cannot determine this moment. You determine this moment by being you. You determine this moment. Heart to heart, you be the face of this moment. And then the face of this moment manifests in this place of this moment. This is the new communication and communion we're speaking of, the engagement, the excitement of that. Did you feel it? I mean, did anybody else feel it in this room? Yeah. It's thrilling because we begin to engage a power of love, a frequency of infinite possibility, that once you touch on it, it takes you. It becomes you.
Well, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can feel you, I can hear you, I can see you, I'm knowing you, I'm loving you, we're loving you, everyone's loving you.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Sophie.
Thank you, Bernie.
Speak to you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a new sovereignty. Do you see, what we're looking at is how the mind plays its game, how the emotions play their game, how the familiar play the game. The truth is, your being doesn't play a game. Your being is being what it is already. Eternal, infinite, and untouchable by past. Untouchable by what happens in the world of events. Now when we really begin to taste that, we don't have to understand it because it's so infinite. How can we understand what has no beginning and no end? But we begin to understand what we can understand now through our own experience of everything that is true in life. We begin to understand the impossible. But we do understand this. We never understand it completely because it has no beginning and end. So the sovereignty is changing. And the goldenness I spoke about is when we really are, look at this, look, in jubilation of being in relation to the deepest place in ourselves. There's a whole different communion, communication and expression begins to take place. But we've got to be sovereign to that, which means true to that. Otherwise we get caught up in the dramas of the familiar life and the old field. We get caught up in it again. We're looking at to be sovereign begins to tune us into the finer vibrations of our real face of Godhood. It begins to tune us into a higher intelligence of our real mind, a higher purpose of our real heart and its love. We begin to define who we really are in the way we give expression in this life. It's a whole different thing we're looking at, a whole different orientation of life that I'm endeavouring to engage you all on these calls. I find it quite exciting. So what we're going to do is going to move to another question. Anybody else out there has a question? Anybody else online? We're just having a look. Who do we have?
Yep, we're off. We've said call in.
Call in. Anybody coming up? If there's nobody out there calling in, we'll come to somebody in the room. Is anybody in the room have a call? Have something to share? Must be someone out there. Hello?
I do.
Okay, so we're going to come to Debbie here in the room. You'll see her on screen in a moment once our technical person is got into his self-mastery of this technology, which he's doing very, very well at. So Debbie, what would you like to share?
Am I looking here?
You can look at me. Yeah.
I've been reflecting on something we were speaking about earlier around my interaction with Osho, and how you were saying it was a man-woman, a masculine-feminine issue.
Yep.
And when you were saying to not get caught up in the outer, but to come from the inner heart space, what I see sometimes is it's almost like a playing out of it's like I can feel my mother inside of me. And I'm not blaming her, but I can just feel her in me. Like I can hear her speak. The way I'm speaking to him or the way I'm reacting to him, I can hear her or feel her in that. And what I'm wondering is, with endeavoring to face this or to allow this to take place, this interaction with him from a real heart, is that unlocking that's deep in me, that is disappointment of the female in my family, my so-called family history, or and am I having to allow this to come out, whatever takes place?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's a very good question. Now, just want to check with our director of photography. Is it okay if I look at this lady, or are we still on screen? Okay. What that says to me is something very fundamental about how the face of consciousness arrived in the place of manifestation. Okay, it is that for consciousness to arrive in manifestation, it's had to create structures, it's had to create patterns to know itself. And so, quite generally, if you really look to see how you, as consciousness, know yourself, you know yourself through past experiences, more often than not reflected off of parental situations. Do you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we know ourselves through experiences since a young child. We know ourselves through experiences with our parents and with our family, and then later within our culture, and then we begin to gather likes and dislikes, and a great deal of those likes and dislikes are from our seeming parents. Do you see what I mean? But the deeper connection I'm endeavouring to make here is that it's all consciousness. There are no parents. It's all consciousness creating forms or mirrors to know itself from. So when we begin to awaken, we begin to become responsible to be the face of consciousness and undo all the patterning that we gathered to know ourselves in reflection. So eventually we don't need to know ourselves in reflection in terms of outer experiences, body-mind experiences. We begin to return home to consciousness itself. Through the heart, into the deep, we begin to practice being true, our sovereignty, to the heart. So the more we are true to the heart, we literally begin to be the true face of consciousness. Consciousness that is not a body, or you could say all bodies. Is not just one body, but a universal body. So we begin to undo all the structures, all the past energetic forms, patterns in our body. We begin to undo them to return to pure consciousness, the pure face of consciousness. Everyone is having to bring that about. That's evolution itself. So that's what's happening with you and everyone in this room and everyone that's listening. You're returning to be pure consciousness. The face, remember, heart to heart, face to place. So the place will only change if you return to your true face. Return to your true face, the place will change. Do you see what I mean? And you returning to your true place, your true face, then also as a calling to others, where there are none, which is a little bizarre because there's only one, to invite others to return to their true face of consciousness. True forgiveness begins in that juncture point of you returning to be your true face in this place, this event, this moment, this situation. And of course, all the images of your past will just keep coming up because you're drawing them up. Before they wouldn't come up unless you unconsciously were calling them up. You make choices in life unconsciously from your past patterning. You're literally pulling them up, and then you think you've made that choice, but you didn't. You just called up memories in the past because you became so familiar with your body mind, you forgot that you were consciousness. Do you see what I mean? You were the face of consciousness itself. So what happens here, and this is one of those very beautiful examples, is that you are emptying out everything of a patterned nature in all your relations of life. You're returning to be true, sovereign to the real heart of you. Therefore, you're turning into the face of consciousness.
Yeah,
You become responsible for that.
it's really interesting because something that Richard said earlier about compassion and tenderness and gentleness, and it's like I can feel that in there, but it's and as you said, it's like sometimes how I speak or react, it's not at all gentle or tender, or it's like God, but on another level, I can feel something else beyond that.
That's right. That's very much that when you're being pierced inside yourself, in reflection with another, for instance, can be, or just an experience of life, but when you're being pierced, then in one moment you might feel anger, or you might feel, why the hell? This again, right? You see what I mean? You might feel all that, but in that same moment, you know that that's a true piercing. You know it must happen. And it's just a piercing of the lie that that you're separate, that you're not the true face of consciousness. It's the piercing of that lie. And the moment you surrender to that knowledge, that's yes, I know what this is. This is me. This is for me to surrender absolutely to. That the pain is not about me. The pain is simply a piercing of my belief in separation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And as I allow the pain, then the pain is no longer a pain of self, but a doorway to the true face of consciousness and the true heart-to-heart connection within myself and to another. I begin to be the perfect face in the right place of evolving consciousness. I begin to be the connection of the inner and the outer. Do you see that now you're being consciousness itself?
Yeah, and I can also see the pain that's caused through an expected way that that we should be relating.
Familiar,
It's like,
the familiar sense of self.
It's like, oh, we could have a nice day,
If ever you experience pain, it's because you're being familiar with yourself and with the other. That's
and
pain.
it's like I can really feel the awfulness of all that at the moment, everywhere. But I know it's all okay, and underneath that, it's all fine. But I can just feel this surface of awfulness about relating.
Everyone moves through that awfulness. Often people refuse to move through that awfulness with consciousness. So then we throw that awfulness onto others as if others should share this awfulness in some way or other. Do you see what I mean? So we throw our pain onto others. Everyone has to move through the awfulness, because when there's awfulness going on, that's a sure sign that there's transformation going on, and that the real face of your consciousness actually knows what's going on. So when you begin to be sovereign to your heart, then the awfulness is perfectly okay, because your heart is telling you, the deep is telling you exactly what's going on. So when you're being true to that, you'll know this is alchemy. And in the alchemy, the right chemistry for deeper communication and connection with the other will also take place spontaneously as well. So then there's no need to put pain onto others, no need to shove anything onto others. Suddenly, your sovereignty to your true heart, you begin to shine with the real face, and you're exactly in the right place. You're never in the wrong place. It's all taking place here. Everything then can change. And in that way, in those mirrors, your mother, your father, your son, the ones that you mentioned, you're also learning as consciousness how the masculine and feminine, as pure principles of consciousness, moving, evolving, and coming to life in form, begin to work. You're no longer seeing them as particular men and women. You're beginning to see the masculine and feminine as pure conscious powers that are creating the universe, one with real self. So you're seeing everything in a different perspective. It's no longer about others. It's actually how the universe, in a very dynamic way, is working as you. So it's wonderful things begin to happen and take place. Are you following that?
Yes, I am, and it was interesting because I felt very, very stuck earlier and really in the awfulness, but then I had a Facebook message from somebody who wants to organise something, and it was a beautiful connection around the form. So that it was almost like facing this awfulness. I know that something's shifting, because then this little light comes through, and I just have to.
It's really like Sophie was also expressing earlier in that other conversation, that when you're not given something that you really want, and you no longer fuss over not having it, when you surrender to it's not here because it's not for you, then something deep opens for you in the surrender that what you're wanting is not available, right? You begin to realize you don't need anything actually. It's all here. That your real being begins to open up. The fulfillment that you already are begins to open up. No longer is your sovereignty to needing things outside, but your sovereignty is the connection of your eternal nature inside, which brings everything into true form. So that's the reorientation that we're looking at in conversations like this. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. We've come to the end of our time now. So unless we've got a really busting conversation going on, is that what I'm looking at here or not? I've got Todd Lockhead beaming up on the screen. I mean, he's always beaming in my life anyway, but no, that's okay. So, Todd Lockhead's online. Okay, so let's just finish with this conversation, and then we're. Are you there, Todd? Is he there? Yeah. There he is. Hello there, Todd.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What is it you'd like to share?
What I wanted to share, well, just this morning's conversation has been absolutely amazing because it's everything's resonated so deeply. I could really relate to what Richard was talking about, soft and tender. But however, what you had added in there was something that I've been coming to discover. Unless I'm alive with that soft and tenderness, it just doesn't cut it in the current opening that's taking place in life generally, and it's really calling for everything, hands, feet, eyes, in order to embrace what I once would have considered not to be soft and tenderness, is not because it's not soft and tender, just purely because I didn't want to face the pain of the human just being a ordinary human being with an understanding that there's something more. I didn't want to live, what I've seen is that the more is not something that just happens, it's something that I am. And that's moment to moment, and certainly there's been moments where I've been that more and I've known that more. But what the offering has been, and certainly in the last day or so, just even to see how much more there is, and if I'm prepared to be that. And certainly, just for example, yesterday, a co-creative day that we had at Yogasara, it was just basically putting in place knowingness and allowing that to emerge. And it appeared so much more than what I even anticipated, but it was very clear that it asked everything prior to its appearance. And even this morning, waking up from that, there's always more. Even down to coming together with my beloved, who is just downstairs at the moment. She's in a dressing gown because it's early in the morning. I felt that I had to get up and get dressed just to appear here this morning because it felt very important. Something that probably the familiarity is what I faced this morning is familiarity with my beloved, but also with my teacher as well. Probably that's what's been easy to do. Just have to breathe that one through a little bit.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah, not just like that real heart to heart, or just what I want. It's like that real heart to heart. I know that that's what you've been offering for so long, and I've been trying to comprehend it from a conceptual point of view. But I had just some direct experiences yesterday of real heart to heart with some people who just happened to be available to turn up to Yogasera from the point of view of a young man Anthony, who came along and made some cupcakes for the day, and then not only made the cupcakes but ended up cutting up the cupcakes and walking up to the end of the road to go and find people who weren't necessarily didn't know about where Yogasera was. Lisa just creating some really amazing clothing, which Sarah, when she left, Sarah who runs Yogasera, just said she just never come across second-hand clothing that made her feel like she'd just been to a boutique. Something that the connectivity with woman yesterday was just incredible, hearing how deep that sense of how much she wants to hide herself, and seeing Lisa actually say to a lady who was a size 12 trying to put on a size 20 top that you don't need to do that anymore, and encouraging her. And in the end, it was good business because she ended up spending 46 pounds with Lisa, but she went away and she actually was going out to a party that evening that she wasn't going to go because she hadn't spent on clothes for 5 years because she didn't feel good about herself. That was what was behind it all. And in between doing the form, that's what I was there promoting and showing about the courses. It was like, what in the morning, what does the form mean? And I couldn't find it, but I watched some pictures over the last 2 to 3 years, and just for the first time just experienced how much has taken place over a period of 2 to 3 years. And it was just, it wasn't a complete statement, but it was, there were so many ways to describe the form that I know there's just so many more ways to describe the form that it's only my limited mind that wants to capture it and make it fixed, because that's then safe, rather than allowing it to keep evolving and keep it growing, which then means that it's always going to be more. And in that, when I came to give the form and share the form, the transmission was direct, and the people who sat on the chairs have become instant friends, Facebook friends. They actually recognized communion and connection, and that they communicated that connection instantly. One man who was a Buddhist teacher who's doing all the flash mobs in Bristol, he came, and his practice is mindfulness. But he came back and he just opened his eyes and he just couldn't stop laughing because he experienced heartfulness, which actually wasn't in competition with mindfulness. It was just what it is. It's heartfulness, which happened to appear through his mind. And I don't know.
This is what we've just been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah.
See, what I'm hearing you saying is that in a return to being the face of consciousness, it changes the very forms of consciousness. We begin to have true forms of mind, true forms of connection, true forms of self-worth, true forms of value in each other, valuing life, valuing what we have, true forms of valuing being true to each other. Our sovereignty is totally changed, that we're not here to get what we want, but we are here to be more of what we already are in our eternal nature, and to discover that together, to unfold that together, because a good word for that is called healing. It's healing to be more. It's healing to be acknowledged from a place of heart connection, from a place, from the true face of who we really are. We're involved in a healing environment, this planet. It's healing in that is awakening consciousness to its true infinite nature and its infinite possibility to display its moorishness, and that's nothing short of nourishing and pretty beautifully profound to discover that. And it's mind-blowing. So it blows the old mind away. Do you see what I mean? Blowing the old mind away to me means we are able to embrace those parts of mind or body or habit with far more compassion, far more understanding. Because if we can have compassion for those parts of ourselves we don't like about ourselves, but we can have compassion for them from a deeper heart communion and communication, then it means we can have compassion for the many, many changes that will always take place in this universe. Because there's one thing you're guaranteed of in this universe. It's called change. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a guarantee. So from what we're looking at this evening is everyone wants change actually. They want change. They want change, but they want to make the connection of who is doing the changing. Of course, it's who I am. It's who I am is doing the changing because I am infinite. And if we can all do the changes together, because we're infinite possibilities together, there will be no shame anymore, no guilt anymore, no frustration anymore, in short, no pain anymore. We give birth to a new humanity simply by being the very face of consciousness. Right where we are and whatever arises in this place, we can be the face of consciousness. We have to allow ourselves to be in this place, and this place is, we don't need another place to be the face of consciousness, to be heart to heart. That's an amazing discovery. A great deal of love and the highest value can take place from that discovery.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing is I've been waiting for other to do this change for me rather than me be that, especially in the relatedness with woman.
Well, that's also, you know, also if you just look into that, if you looked into that, you will see there is no other doing that for you. There's no, see, if you look at that, I think you just got a tad of that.
Yeah.
If there is no other, it means everything that takes place is taking place because there is no other.
Thank you.
And so that's evolution where I'm at, is that the whole of life moves with its multi-dimensional fingers and its multi-dimensional lips and bodies. It moves to move one consciousness. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
One consciousness into one amazing form, the form of the universe. Do you see what I'm saying here? So when you see it like this, there's no one else doing it for you, because everyone else is you doing it.
I suppose it was the speed of consciousness to see that you've just reflected to me. It's the speed of consciousness, because yesterday it was actually the speed of consciousness moved. And I responded physically with that too. So the two, the form and the formless, were moving as one. And I suppose in that moment, that's what actually took place in a moment. And there was moments where I did see other, just for a flicker. And I knew that there was the potential for other to appear in consciousness. But instead of appearing in consciousness, it just stayed on with no other, and it just dissolved instantly. Where this morning, probably with waking up after a day where it's been that, there is that slowing down and the familiarity that I noticed this morning come in.
Yeah.
That then created other, rather than what you're talking about, that immediacy of...
What we're looking at in these conversations, to kind of round this evening up, what we're looking at, which you're bringing to us right now, is how we can be totally unfamiliar with this moment. How we can allow ourselves to be totally unfamiliar. Trust being unfamiliar. Do you see what I mean? Oh, that's like being naked, right? That's just blown open. That's so open. So then, if we can be that, if we can be so open in this moment, and I'm saying to you, we can all be this open, and it has to be heart to heart and face to this place, then what we begin to discover is when the familiar shows up, we don't have to move with it. When the pattern shows up, we don't have to move with it. When anything seemingly distasteful moves, we don't have to move with any of that. We can be sovereign to our heart. Now that's a practice. To be sovereign to your heart means then you're sovereign to everyone else's heart. Because everyone else's heart is the one heart. you see what I'm saying? There is no other then. So that kind of practice means whatever moves in your mind, you won't use the familiar, you'll find another place of mind, a deeper, higher place of mind, another place of heart, much more profound, much more real. You'll find new places in yourself, new places in the deep, new places in your communications that have never been here before. That's what's really exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd, for getting up so early.
It's not that early now. It's 9:20 over here. So thank you.
So you have no excuse to go back to sleep.
No, I've got parents-in-laws coming today for lunch. I'm cooking them lunch.
Okay, I have no comment, but if you want some milk and magnesia, you know where to get it. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Much
See
love to you
soon.
and Lisa.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And again, thank you all for being on this conversation. We'll be having another one. I haven't decided when it's going to actually be as yet. Or we have a date for that? We do? Monday?
This coming Monday.
Wow, my God, that's...
Oh, not tomorrow. Monday
Right,
week.
Monday week. We'll post that out to you anyway, the dates. As you can see, I think they're all a little bit, I don't know, moved in their own enlightenment this evening or something. But thank you all for joining us. Do join us again, heart to heart, face to place. If we can all live this, and we can live this, and if we can all encourage each other to live this, in any place, face to face, we'll change the way human beings live and enjoy this life. Thank you. Bye-bye.